Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I had this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. This is Kiera, and we're going to car cast it up again tonight. I do feel like I'm back on Delilah After Dark. It's dark tonight. For those of you who were listening, I did car casting this morning on my way to an office, and now I'm driving home from that office. So it's kind of been a pretty fun day for me going into an office, seeing a brand new office, fun to see them growing into their second location. And I caught them a month and a half after opening their second location. And I don't know for any of you who have opened practices, do you remember month basically 2 of new practice ownership? And I think the overwhelm, the stress, it's like having another baby in your family. I don't know what this exactly feels like because I've never had a baby, but I've been in a family with lots of babies in the family. I've known a lot of people. And I just think that when you open a second practice, it really does open up a lot of issues, concerns. And what I just want to say to those of you who are going through any part of transition in your practice, coming in off this office, I'm surely lots of thoughts tonight. But I think you just need to give yourself grace. And I think as type A people in this world, we don't allow ourselves to have grace. We constantly think that we should know this and we should be better than this. And I just think about, gosh, like, why can't we give ourselves that space? Why can't we give ourselves that grace? Why can't we just realize that it's something new and that we need 3, 6, 12 months to get good at this? I don't understand, and I don't have an answer for you, but definitely something to ponder of why can't we give ourselves grace? And going through that today, watching this office, kudos to them. We got to work, we figured it out. And I think the biggest takeaway that I had today was you have to prioritize. And I know that that sounds so cliche, but when new things come or challenges are there, and when we need to give ourselves grace, the biggest thing you've got to work on and the biggest thing you've got to realize is you have to have it figured out of what is the most important priority right now. What does that look like for you? Because if you don't figure out the biggest priority with the greatest impact, you're going to spin around in circles. And it takes me back to the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And he has these 2 circles. So imagine in your mind, if you will, one circle has one arrow going straight up, and it's very like a long arrow far away from that circle. And in the middle of that circle, it says energy. And in the other circle, again, it says energy. And there's lots of little, like maybe like a 1/2 inch long arrows, and lots of them. So probably like 10 to 15 little arrows all around that other circle. And it just shows like when we're putting our energy and our effort in all these different places, we make minimum momentum. And when I look at that second circle with all those little arrows, literally by physics, if you push in all those areas, you physically and like scientifically would spin around in a circle. And so just thinking about that, when we're in this overwhelm, how do you figure out how to prioritize? I think one thing you can do, like this office did, massive kudos to them, is she called in help. She said, look, I'm in this space, Kiera. I want you to come in. The second thing you can do is just look to see, list off the big priorities. Sometimes this can be long, and sometimes just getting that dump list of everything in front of you oftentimes can really help you. It can help you see what is in front of me, what really are these big boulders, and then figuring out if I could only do one of these, only one, which one's going to move me forward the most? Only one. Which one is it? And so for this office, even though it wasn't the one they wanted to accept, it's the one that really has to get done. And sometimes it's urgent, and sometimes it's most important depending upon where you're at. So if you have an urgent one, I also like to do, and this kind of goes against you have one thing, do that one thing. That's what I prioritize. And then what I do is I standardize below that of other things. So for example, you as a new owner doctor, or you opening a second location, There are things that only you can do, and you've got to hit those high fires. But then after that, your team, what if we have your team get to work on some things that they could do? So for example, in this office today, we decided to tackle case acceptance, because with a new practice, one of the number one things that I'm sure you get concerned about is, you know it, don't pretend like you don't know it, you for sure know it, and that is you get nervous about cost. You get nervous about the fees of that new location. And so thinking about that, what can we get the entire team working towards? They're looking at how can we increase our case acceptance? What can we do to get our production numbers where they need to be? So we spent the time today going through and figuring out what is the bare ACE, we said ACE minimum. What are our true costs to break even, to make sure we don't go under every month? We sat there for quite a while. We had to go through every credit card, literally line item by line item by line item, figure out what the BAM is, even though expenses are high, to then know what our true numbers are. We got the entire team then focus on things that would impact those numbers to help serve more patients, because at the end of the day, it's stressful. These things are stressful. So if we can alleviate that stress and get the whole team working on that, that becomes their focus. And then that way you can work on another focus. I think so often we don't realize that we've got team members, and if we just do 1 or 2 hours of training and get them focused on this KPI, you can then go work on the other hot fire that might be most important for you. I find that when people take on new challenges and new tasks, what they do is they almost get like ostrich in the sand, and they just hunker down and they can't see anything else. And so everything feels super, super overwhelming. And this is normal. It's survival mode. So if we're in survival mode, we're not doing anything else. And I know as perfectionists, we want to do everything else. I think about my mom, and my mom just put on a family reunion, and there were a lot of people there, and we're about a week away, and there was so much for her to do. She was literally buying food for, like 30 people, and we were cooking, and that just feels exhausting in and of itself. And I remember they were asking, what other things do we want to add on? Do we want to add on quadding and boating and paddleboarding? And I said, Mom, we're in the 11th hour. This is the time where we cut and prioritize, because when you're in survival mode, you have an oxygen mask on you. It's not the time to go be doing humanitarian aid and trying to get everything else fixed. And I think that that's why we spin, we get overwhelmed, we feel like we can't do it all, because we're trying to do all the extra things rather than just realize right now is a season to do one thing. Right now is the season to do one thing and do it really, really well. There's 700 other boiling pots. I'm aware of that. So you have to pick the 1 or 2 boiling pots that you need to focus on now. We put all of our effort and energy there, and we delegate if we can to other people. So for this new office, like I said, they're doing a lot of things amazingly well. They just got a brand new practice, which feels like we've got 3 more children added to the mix. So we've got to figure out, what can we get the team focused on that's really going to make the biggest impact? And what can we as owners do that's going to make the greatest impact? This is why I love consulting. I love coming in from a bird's eye view with no emotional attachment to it and saying, all right, guys, this is what's going to be most important. This is what's going to push your team forward, and this is what's going to push you forward. Now let's divide, conquer, and set a little system to make sure these things happen. So what we did with the team today was we had them know their BAM, what they needed to produce. And then we had them rally around of what could they do? What things do they want to track? What things are they going to go after every single day that they get excited about? Why do you need to create all these things? Why do you, as the owner, need to figure out their solution? Give them the problem and trust that your team is brilliant to find the solution. It might not be what you would normally do. It might not be the things that you ultimately want to do. But guess what? They can run this for a couple of months while you get things to settle down. And I feel like so often, myself included, I forget how brilliant my team is. Hand my trials over to them, hand the big problems over to them, and have them help solve it with me. You pay for brilliant people. And then also make sure you're not trying to solve other problems that aren't problems yet. For example, team hiring. We don't need to do that. We don't need to fire. We don't need to shake that tree. Let's not shake it while everything else feels shaken. Let's make sure that the other things that are more important, like overhead, costs, getting production up, really are there. And then this is something that I just feel is a skill to be learned, and that is prioritize your time as well. So if we're stressed about the finances, we're stressed about all these systems, All right, perfect. Let's set some CEO time, 1 or 2 hours a week, where you literally work on the business and nothing else. You build the systems, you figure out the most important things. And then on your other time, you put your head down and you go to work and you do the best dentistry and the best patient experience you ever can give. Something crazy. And I found with going through consulting, I have to do this. It's a skill. It's not something I know how to do. But today I have burning fires all around me in the company. I have other things. I've got stressful things. When I walk into an office, I put my head down. I don't look at my text messages. I don't look at my emails. I don't look at Slack. None of those things. Because when I'm there to work and work on that office. Everything else I'll pick up the next day. So when you're there being intentional with your time, that also can help you not feel as stressed. I actually enjoy consulting days because guess what? It's a day free from my problems. So for you doing dentistry, have that day, that time, those hours be a day free from your problems. You don't have to worry about the business. During that moment, you get to do the most beautiful crown and do the best patient experience and do the best exams and just have fun with your patients. And then during your deep work admin time, you worry about the business. Maybe you book a day or a half a day where that's when you stress about the business and figure out the strategy behind it. And then the other days we go to work. And if your emails stress you out, put a vacation responder on that say, hey, I'm busy seeing patients. I respond to my emails on Thursdays. I'll be sure to get back to you on Thursday. If this is urgent, send me a text. Can you imagine how much easier your life could be if you put these little things into play? But we forget that those things are available to us because we feel like we have to do everything. And something that I've heard often is when everything's important, nothing's important. So I think about it. How can you go back and put that one focus of energy? Make sure we discipline our time and we're intentional with our time. When we're there to work, we're there to work. And today I'm driving. Yes, I've got 100 other things to do, but guess what? I'm going to podcast with you guys. I'm going to carcast with you because this is my time to be here. I can't worry about the other pieces. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to have a ton of fun podcasting with you. My problems will be there when I get home. They'll be there ready for me tomorrow. And really, when you can learn to almost compartmentalize your time, again, it's a skill. It's something you learn over time, something where you don't let it creep in. I used to be a terrible consultant. When I say terrible, that's a little extreme, because when I was consulting, I was still trying to work on the business at the same time. Well, I'm not going to be good on the business and I'm not going to be good in consulting. So like I said, allow those dentistry moments to be your free time. Go have fun. Have that be almost your white Zen meditation time. I heard another doctor say, I love when I get to do dentistry because that's my meditation time and it's easy and it's fun and there are no problems there. And I really just get to kind of tune in and tune out. And then I get to work on the business. But I really do think to work on the business, you have to plan those 2 hours. So even if you need to cut 2 hours of production, which sounds counterproductive, especially if you've opened a new practice, you're stressed about overhead, you're stressed about production, taking those 2 hours to work on the business will allow the rest of your 38 hours in a 40-hour work week to be productive. So for that, I want you guys to really, really think about what can you do right now? Where can you prioritize? Where can you intentionalize your time so that way things don't feel overwhelming? It's not easy. I'm not here to say that this is something easy. This is something hard. But I think when you can put some of those pieces into play, you can give yourself more grace like we talked about at the beginning. When hard things come, when there's a season of your life, that's the season to be in and realize it's not going to look like the other seasons of your life. Businesses are cyclical. I love thinking about the seasons. Just like a year is, we've got seasons. There's seasonalities. We've got spring, summer, fall, and winter. Businesses have spring, summer, fall, and winter. Businesses have times where we're blooming and blossoming. And then summer is like total coast time and tons of fun. And then fall is when things die and it's hard and we've got to plant the seeds and start to harvest. And then winter's where it's really, really hard. Everything in business is the same. We reap the rewards. We have the hard times where it's dark and dreary and feels like nothing's working for us. And then we go blossoming and blooming. And then we go on coast mode. And then we reap the rewards. And then it's hard again. That's normal. So in those seasons of hard where it feels dark, prioritize what's truly, if you could only do one thing, what truly is the most important. Number 2, how can you utilize your team more effectively and get them focused on it and share the load and empower them to be the rockstar amazing people that they are. Then number 3, be intentional with your time. If you're going to be at work, be at work. If you're going to work on the business and really maximize those different times to have it where you really, truly can work on the business, and then you can be having fun doing dentistry. Go to work hard. If we're going to take that time away from our families, let's make that time count. And then give yourself grace. It's a season. It's going to change. It's not going to be here forever. And sometimes we forget that it's not here forever. It's a small season. So those are some of the things that I took away, learning from this office, helping this office, just experiencing it with this office, and remembering that seasons don't last forever. This is just a time. So what can we do? I've also found during winter, if you will, when it's really hard in businesses, that's also when we need to ramp up the self-care, ramp up the time, and shut off. So be done at 5 o'clock from work. Close the computer, go home. Be intentional with our time. Go do something fun with friends. Refill your well of whatever it's going to be. For me, it's hiking and working out and being with my husband. Those things fill and fuel me, and with my family. So I'm going to put more of that in my life, close the computer at 5 o'clock and be there tomorrow. Because if we keep working, we're burning out and we actually aren't as effective. So close the computer at 5, go in. Just think about wintertime. It's cold, our hours aren't as long, and it's the hard time. We often try to do the opposite of that, just thinking if I just push through this, it'll get better. Do the opposite. Do what's not instinctual. And I have found that I have more fuel in the tank to be able to better problem solve, get things done more efficiently and effectively, and really give myself grace. Same thing when like a team member calls out. Office managers say this to me all the time. Kiera, I don't have a team member. I have to cover all these things and I have to get all this done. And I'm like, no, this week is the time to cover the front desk. That's the most important thing you can do. Other things you can wait, or we can delegate, or we block 1 or 2 hours to make sure that we have those 1 or 2 hours where we really focus on the business. The rest of the time we're there as the front office. Whatever it is, making sure that we really truly give ourselves the space, the grace to be successful. I think oftentimes we really put ourselves up for failure because we try to do too much. It's overwhelming. We shut down and we physically can't do it. Realize that that's what you're doing, and be graceful, be kind, and give yourself that space. These are things I love to do. I love being able to make it easier for people. I love being able to see the blind spots for people. So if we can help you in your practice, reach out, hello@thedentalateam.com. Whether you're in growth mode or survival mode, either one, I would love to help you. hello@thedentalateam.com. This is what we do for a living, and this is what we're really, 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 really good at. So stop doing it the hard way. Bring someone in, have them help you out, and as always, know that you guys can just have this life. Show yourself the grace. You're doing better than you think you are. Prioritize your time. Use your team. And realize what season you're in and maximize that season every season you're in. Not all seasons will be ultra productive. Not all seasons will be ultra hard. Every season is different. See the season you're in. Enjoy the season for what it is. And if we can help you, I'm here for you. Rooting you on, helping you intentionally or virtually, whatever it's going to be, and whatever we can do to help you, we're here. As always, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time on the Dental 18 Podcast.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental 18 Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.